this is not me. Then panic and anxiety attacks, they were so consistent, like each and every day. Breathing problems, then nose bleeding, then self-neglect, hygiene and everything else. And then I started realizing there's a problem. So I thought I was in that period of nasikia sijui aje. Like I'm just there, but I'm not there. I want to go out, but I don't want to go out. I want to go out, but please don't talk to me when I'm out. Waking up to go to the same place, it was like, And then with all this, I didn't know if it was caused by my job or the thoughts in my head or the environment or me hating where I was in life or me doubting if I'm good enough. Like I don't think I really care what people think of me. Like that one, I don't. I have everything else, but I don't have insecurities. Insecurities, you can attack me on every other thing, but actually the way I look, the way I dress, those ones, nope.
So guys, welcome back to another episode of Offbeat with Lubanga. Today I'm joined by two beautiful ladies, and the topic of the day is mental health. So they'll introduce themselves first, and then we dive deep into what mental health is and all those other things. So ladies.
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Yvonne Buluma. I've undergone mental related issues. I've underwent therapy, but then, yes, I'll share. Then I'm a certified trauma healer, Bible-based trauma healer. Yes.
Bible-based. That's
No, but yeah, it is. But it can cut across to all religions.
So what do you mean by Bible healer, Bible-based?
Bible-based, because
healer?
we were taught by Bible Society of Kenya.
Okay.
So that's why it's Bible-based. Then it was.
So the principles
hosted.
are anchored in the Bible when you're trying to help someone.
Yes.
Okay.
But you see, the lessons are just general,
Okay.
but we would refer to the Bible, to the cross, and all that. But still, it can cut across to, trauma is just trauma, regardless of who you are, even an unbeliever.
Okay.
Yes.
What about you?
Okay, hi. So my name is Florence Kimoyu. I'm kind of shy when it comes to camera and stuff. But I started an initiative. It's called Finding Me Mental Health Wellness. And basically it cropped when after I also underwent my own, after I underwent depression. Yeah. So that is where it started, like finding me. Yeah.
So Brenda, for someone who isn't like conversant with mental health advocacy, like assuming I do not know what it is, can you take me through what mental health advocacy is?
Okay, so basically mental health wellness is all about when we think, for personally what we do at our initiative, we are more like protecting you before ufike palia. Like, you're saying you have mental health illness, or you're feeling subtrappable, or you're depressed. So what we do is we encourage you to basically put some aspects in your life to ensure that you won't really fall into mental health illness, or you wouldn't even say you're depressed or you're suicidal, by encouraging you to get to know who you are. So mental health wellness is basically all about focusing on you in terms of understanding who you are, so that you can put positive, how can I put it, positive words, aspects in your life that can enable you to live positively and also cope with stresses of life, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what mental health wellness is all about.
And Yvonne, what's your personal journey with mental health?
Mental health. Naturally, I'm such a strong person, like really strong, and bubbly and all that, all-rounded. Then COVID happened. And I guess during COVID, everyone had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
And it was during that time that I realized I didn't like where I was in life. I think it was more of a wake-up call. Ile yenye what if
Uh-huh.
COVID took away lives, jobs, so many things happened. So another thing, I'm an overthinker. So during that period, I had time to think about all these things. So imagine if my mom was not there, what would happen if something happened to any of my siblings, my job and all. So with time, I would build scenarios and all that. But then it got to a point whereby I realized I hated where I was. Like there's not liking and hating. It was very extreme, very deep. I think I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what it was and how I could get to that something else. And with that, it sort of opened wounds for so many things. So it started with it's like my childhood traumas came out, and then I felt like I wanted to start afresh. Like I just wanted to disappear from people and start afresh. I'm not so sure what happened, but I knew, as in, I didn't want people. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to sort of escape. Kidogo too. Like even if it's for 2 months, 3 months, I just wanted. And I felt where I was, I had given what I ought to have given. I had learned what I wanted to learn. I just wanted to start afresh. Different environments, different people, different everything. Just afresh. And I guess with that, now working, I was in an environment that was triggering everything. These are the things that I will constantly think about in the evening. And then I'm in an environment whereby I'm supposed to give, I'm supposed to do, but on my side, I'm not receiving. It's like I'm just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. But there's nothing I'm getting. Nothing was fulfilling in life at that moment, like completely. I would even go to church and still just watch people pray, and I'm like, what? Niko tu like, wow, Mungu heri wewe mwenye. Sasa niko tu like, unawajibu, unawasikia kweli? Ama ni mimi pekee unalenga? Like you see, it was just one trigger that affected all areas of my life. And then it started with being rude. I'm everything else, but I'm not rude.
Yeah,
So there's a day I answered someone, and in the evening, I felt so bad, like so bad. Because I easily guilt trip. That's why I rarely wrong people. And I was like, this is not me. Then panic and anxiety attacks, they were so consistent. Like each and every day. Breathing problems, then nose bleeding, then self-neglect, hygiene and everything else. And then I started realizing there's a problem, but I didn't know what it was. You know, Kenyans were so used to nasikia sijui aje. So I thought I was in that period of nasikia sijui aje. Like I'm just there, but I'm not there. I want to go out, but I don't want to go out. I want to go out, but please don't talk to me when I'm out. If we are friends and not real friends, ni sawa tu. Say hi, ishi hapo. Like stop acting like tunajuana. Ama don't be all over my space and all. Like I was comfortable being outside, but being outside alone. It's like I was living in my head.
Okay.
But still, despite living in my head, I could not process what was going on. I'm crying every day. Like I'm just crying. It was so constant. For 2 months, I would cry every single day. Labda asubuhi, lunchtime, ama jioni. And the cry was not the normal, like I'm hurt or... Yani, it's like... Unangele kulia hasira. Like I just wanted to cry. Then after crying, I'll be okay for a while. There's a day, while going to work, I just looked outside the window and I started crying. Like I cried. Baka the next passenger was like, uko sawa? I know when she asked that question, I was like, okay, nini mbaya na mimi? To be sincere, why am I crying?
Because then maybe hata umewachwa.
Exactly. Ile nye, why am I crying? So getting to work, my eyes are teary. My friend was like, uko nalia? Nikamwambia, nilikuwa nikiwatch vitu zingine YouTube. We. Nizo tu zimenilisha. Because I'm still emotional, so I will easily cry. When I see a sad person, a sick person, like those things easily trigger me. So here I am, working, and I feel like this is not what I want. Like I don't want this at all. And each and every day waking up to something that now I was getting to hate, felt like I was poking a wound that I had already realized I had. So waking up to go to the same place, it was like, mm-mm. And then with all this, I didn't know if it was caused by my job or the thoughts in my head or the environment or me hating where I was in life or me doubting if I'm good enough. Like I have a tattoo written I am enough. Then I will sit down and think, am I really enough or am I just forcing people to think I am enough? Definitely, it has nothing to do with how I look. It has nothing to do with how I dress. It has everything to do with who I am as a person, like as Buluma. And I was like, to be sincere, am I really enough? You know those times where I really wish I knew what triggered all this. Because so many things happened at once. And I felt like I wanted to start afresh. Like rebranding or rebuilding, but I didn't know what to do. So I lived in this space for a while. And each and every day I would go home, and during the day I'm fine, hating the place and all that, but I'll still be that good employee, that good friend, checking on my friends and all that. Then I go to my house in the evening, and I'll be there crying, sad. And I just felt like I wanted to escape completely. Like what hakupotea kabisa. And then I applied for something, and it was so, like it felt like I had a reason to live again. At least if I chase this one, that change, maybe it will give me what I wanted. And then I missed it the last minute. And I guess that period, I had so many L's following each other. Job, applications, promotions. Like I had like 8 L's following each other, including elections. And I was like, maybe I'm the problem. There's no way I'm constantly.
Over when I was making fun of you guys, I was changiaing in people's mental health.
So,
and I didn't know.
so I was like, hey, Mungu nimekukosea nini? And I remember even I couldn't pray. I will get into that moment and I'm like, sijui nikwambie nini? Like, you know everything. You know I don't like where I am. Plus I don't understand what's going on. Like I really wanted peace and I couldn't find that peace. So at times I would want to share, but it gets to a point whereby you realize even your close people, you're all going through issues. Be kind, everyone is going through issues. So someone will start unwinding and you're like, ama ya huyu ni serious, wacha nisikize. Ya huyu ni serious and nisikize. So even when I started therapy, it got to a point whereby my therapist was saying, Yvonne, like you give so much. At times, as in take time to like to replenish. Because you can't just give. It's like you're giving from an empty cup. There's nothing. You know, I would go and say, you know, there's this person who needs, and she's like, Yvonne, imagine, no, not today. Like, think about you. Other people's problems would hurt me, kabisa. If I'm not in a position to help. Because I remember that period, people lost jobs. Like so many. And someone would call to ask for money. And at that point, I'm hating my job and I'm like, God, am I ungrateful?
I remember even a friend of ours gave you a shout out and like he was saying, like he was so thankful that you came through for him during the COVID times.
I don't even remember who it is.
He's our friend. I just don't want to mention names.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even remember.
He's Marama. So, you know we are only 3 Maramas. Come on.
I don't even remember who it is. Yeah. But it got to a point whereby everything is just not working to me. And then there are some that, vitu zinajipa, then there's me. So when the nose bleeding started with the headaches, it got to a point I was like, okay, now I'm not okay. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not okay. So I remember I had shared with so many people. Like every day I had a story to share. There's a day I shared with a cab guy. There's a day I shared with someone in the matatu. There's a day I shared with, like, I will share with friends, but then you realize...
So how do you just start, like, sharing maybe what you're going through with a stranger? Like
you pose it like a question, nikuulize.
Yeah.
Nikuulize. Ukiwa kwa nini unaweza do? Then you start striking a conversation. Yes.
It reminds me of kitambo ukivunjwa roho na dem and then you feel like kila mtu anafaa ku understand situation yako, so like you go to some random girl go like nikuulize dem akikosa ku reply text yako na unamuona online inamaanisha nini, so like is that how you used to start your conversation?
Yeah, as in because at times I will think I'm overreacting ama my feelings don't matter, ama they are too petty, like even you have a job, that's enough. At times you'll tell someone aki niko na stress and they're like umeachwa, and I'm like no, like sio hiyo. Ama unazambia mtu aki sina pesa, ati hata mimi nilikuwa nataka kubuy, niko tu like relation yetu kwa hii conversation like we are not at the same level. So siwezi endelea because nikiendelea itakuwa like downplaying your issue, but at the same time na feel like mine won't make sense to you. So heri tu nisikwambie.
So ni kama maybe a millionaire, the things that gives them stress ni vitu mimi siwezi relate nayo.
Exactly.
Unaona, sasa kuja kuniambia I'm like nigga wewe hata uko poa, like why are you stressed over kitu kai? The same way mimi nikimpelekea shida zangu kwa like hizi ni gani? So maybe kuna hiyo mismatch, so probably maybe what you needed was someone maybe on the same level mwenye mngeza elewana in terms of like the problems that all of you are facing at that particular time.
Yeah, sasa tukisha kwa hiyo level same sisi wote like we are both not poor per se, like tuko ile point yenye we are sharing our problems but we're not helping each other because we are undergoing the same things. Not necessarily kama ile nikikuja niambia mtu we sina pesa, then someone says imagine nimefutwa job, go to like shit yako ni serious. Yako ni serious. So tuko tu like tutaanza ku apply, tutafanya nini? Mwingine anakuja anasema kuna salary cuts kwetu. So we are all having sort of related problems but kwa wavelength kuna mwenye ni serious. Because during COVID everyone had their own issues, like your period kila msee alikuwa na yake. So ilikuwa fika time yenye it took like 1 year for me to start noticing these problems. Nilikuwa nadhani tu ni hizo tu za sijui ama ile I'm dressing up to go out.
It was serious.
Yes,
it was serious. Very serious.
I'm dressing up kwenda out, afu nikifika kwa mlango niko tu like I'm not doing people today. Wase wakinicall nawaambia nilikuwa natoka but sijisikii, nimerudi kulala. Like for once it got to a point whereby I was so sure I don't like people.
Do you still feel like you don't like people?
I don't know.
You don't know that.
As in maybe I don't like people to be sincere, I don't know. I like people I can relate with. I'm very good with people, new and those who we are used to. But I think I have social anxiety. So there are those who will see the real Yvonne, like the Yvonne, and there are those who will see the Yvonne. Mambo poa, sasa fit. To the extent that there are people who will find me talking na like anaongeanga.
Is it because maybe at the back of your mind you care too much about your general, like how you'll come off to people? So because you're not sure if they're going to like this version or whether they're not going to like it, so you just decide to say, I don't like people.
I don't think I really care what people think of me. Like that one, I don't. I have everything else, but I don't have insecurities. Insecurities. You can attack me on every other thing, but actually the way I look, the way I dress, those ones, nope. How I come out. I think it got to a point, that period, that I was like, I'm better on my own. Like I can do this on my own. I can process this alone. I didn't know I was digging myself deeper, but I felt comfortable knowing that I'll fight and emerge victorious alone. But still, I wasn't understanding what I'll be fighting.
Okay.
Yep.
And Florence.
Yeah.
What made you get involved with mental health advocacy?
I feel like Yvonne is talking about my own experience. It's quite relatable because when she was talking, I was like, oh my God, that was me. Oh my God, I felt that way too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so like it's one of, it was back in 2020, but it started in 2019. I started feeling like late 2019. I started feeling like I'm not okay, but I couldn't really pinpoint what the problem is, right? So, come 2020, I remember there's a time I couldn't even get out of bed. At least you tried. Me, I remember I couldn't get out of bed for days. Funny enough, I have a very, very, very supportive family, especially my brothers. And but the fact that I've always thought I'm an introvert and I love my space, so when they never used to see me, they'll think like, okay, she's hiding herself as usual, because I'm the type nitakwambia toka enda nimechoka. I'll tell you, even if you come to visit me, I'll just tell you, I've had enough of you, please go. Yeah, so that time when I was doing that, they thought it was normal, like it was normal behavior, but for me it was like really dark, and then that feeling like you've had enough, that you don't even want to do it anymore, because I felt it. I think for me, hitting rock bottom for me, people talk about hitting rock bottom. For me, it was texting my dad in the middle of the night, because I remember calling him, but he didn't really pick up. And then I was like, Dad, you know what, I'm just tired. I'm done. Yeah. And the next morning, I remember thinking like, okay, what are you doing? Like, why would you make your parents go through something like this? And yeah, for me, that is how I started, like hitting that rock bottom, texting my dad and my mom and making them worry. And I was like, you know what, you really need to get your shit together.
So when you're texting them, like for example, your dad at night, what exactly are you telling him?
Like I was telling him, me, I'm done. Like I'm just tired. I'm tired of life, Yeah. And like realizing like these people have consistently been there for you. They've literally given you everything, and this is like at the back of my mind, I was like, is this the best you can actually do, like to your parents, like why would you allow them to go through something like that, So for me, I think that was the wake up call. And I remember the next day, I remember, because I'm spiritual, I was like, you know what, God, like, because I think for me, it was carrying a lot of things for so many years. Like having, like, it started with my first boyfriend dying. I never even dealt with that. And I just consistently continued carrying stuff that were bothering me. And it started when I was 21. So by the time I was hitting my late 20s, I'm carrying all these things. Like sometimes you repair something, you think you're healing yourself, but you're not. But you just keep on consistently digging yourself into stuff that you don't even understand. And then it's like one day you're like, you feel like
They
this
pile
bag,
up.
exactly. This is too much. You feel like you can't even breathe anymore, right? And you're like, something has to give. For me, it felt like something had to give at that moment in time. So after calling my parents, that's when I remember praying, because me, I'm a prayerful person, because that is my anchor when everything doesn't really make sense, because we all have our values, our beliefs, things that actually bring us to who we are, or it gives us perspective. So for me, it was like just telling God, you know what, God, me, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm tired of carrying this baggage. So you either take it away, or I'm literally done. You know. And yeah, as crazy as it sounds, I think for me, okay, it's gonna sound weird, but I think for me it was God who actually allowed me to just move out from that place. And then I started thinking like, okay, what if, because I remember that time I couldn't really talk to my brothers, or I couldn't even tell my friends like what I was going through. I felt like, how would I even start? Because I didn't want to be judged, There's that fear that someone is going to judge you, because you present yourself in a certain way, Like, so how do you get to just tell people that this is who I am. There's that fear. We all have that fear because we consistently hide who we are, some aspects of ourselves, even to the closest people who know who we really, really are. So for me, it was really hard just telling my brothers that I was going through this stuff. So I started thinking, okay, what if there are people who are going through the same thing, but they don't even know how they can even, who to talk to, And I started thinking, I would like to create a platform for these people to come and just express themselves without feeling judged. Because one thing that Yvonne mentioned is that talking to strangers, it's easier to express who you are because you feel like no one is going to judge you, as compared to someone who feels they know who you are to a certain extent, or they know you. They might think they know you, but they don't really know you, so it's easy for them to judge you. So that concept started brewing in my head, but I didn't really do anything about it. But in 2021, because what happened after that was I started praying to God to give me a sense of direction, because I also felt purposeless, like, okay,
what am I living for?
What am I living for? And I remember praying to God, like, God, actually, there was that, and then I was like, I want to pursue this and this, but there's that feeling, but I didn't really pursue it. But in 2021, it kept on cropping up, and I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this. I'm not even doing this for myself. I'm doing it for other people. People who would actually, even if it's that one person, who would just come and just talk or mingle with other people and get some healing. So that is how I started the initiative. We started preparing for it, and then in 2022, that's when it took shape, and then in 2023, in January, that's when we started the initiative. So basically I modeled the initiative from that perspective of, Alcoholic Anonymous. You don't know Alcoholic Anonymous? Do you know alcohol?
I don't know.
Okay, you guys, you watch movies, right?
Yeah.
Like when someone is suffer from alcoholism and then they go to a meeting, and they're just in a group and you're talking about stuff you're going through with people you don't know. So I figured that would be really cool. Like, you can just come and talk.
So hiyo ndio inaitwa Alcohol Anonymous.
Yeah,
Ile nye, hi,
basically.
I'm John and I'm an alcoholic.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I borrowed that concept because I figured it's gonna be cool, like getting people to just come in and maybe just share their experiences, and through that, like, there's gonna be that peer support. But then I started thinking, like, okay, we can share as peers, but again, how can someone get out of this place feeling like at least they build something in them? So that's when the concept of bringing in a counseling psychologist came in, so that he or she can support the peer sharing aspect of it. Yeah, so basically, yes, that's how Finding Me Mental Health Wellness started. And when you think about it, Finding Me is basically you finding yourself. Like, it's very personal. Finding me, like coming back to who you are. Like, who are you as Lubanga? Who are you as Yvonne? Without concentrating on the outer world.
Interesting.
Just to add,
Yeah.
I think what you said, like so many things, it comes back to the issue of processing emotions. We just feel. Like, I'm sad. Lubanga minibu, that's it. Like, we don't fully process what you're feeling. Like, it's like breaking them down. Like, sorry to use that one as an example. Like, your boyfriend died. Like, you're sad and all that, blaming so many people.
True.
And then, but when you think deeply, what would you have done? Maybe there's nothing different you would have done. It was beyond you and all. Like, so many things. After undergoing therapy, I get to understand whereby, being raised by a single mom, I've always been okay, like perfectly fine. To the extent that I can't say I come from a broken home, because I grew up with love, providence, like grace, everything. To the extent that I didn't realize I grew up with a single parent until high school, when now girls were being visited by their dad, and I'm like, wait a minute. Sinanga kumbe. Like, there's this one person missing. And then he died, and we didn't go for the burial. That one didn't affect me. But then for a very long time, I was like, what was he thinking when he left? Like, why didn't he even try until he's dead? And now, there's only Yvonne who's using his name. And I remember there's a time I wanted to drop the name Buluma and use my mom's name. So it took a while, the forgiving and embracing. These days, I'm so comfortable with being Buluma to the extent that I'm like, I really hope I'll make him proud in that other world. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the issue of processing emotions. Because I remember during that period, I watched a video of a former Miss America who committed suicide. She was a 10. But then when the mom was sharing the story in the Red Table Talk, I was like, I relate to everything she was going through. Like, I really relate. Like, I was ticking every box, and I'm like, am I headed there? Like, Kai. Then considering my uncle committed suicide, and the whole family, everyone in our family.
Your uncle?
Yes. We all blamed ourselves because, Queenie, how bad were we that he couldn't even want to share with any of us. So during that period, I didn't contemplate suicide, but I thought about it. I really wished it was something I can do. Then I go, I find myself, then I come back when I'm fine. Like, I really wished it was something that can be reversed, not kuenda. But the thought of my mom losing me, I don't think even in death I can forgive myself. And because of that, I was like, God, this one, Ebu, please remove this one from my head. Like, completely anything suicide related, that one I don't think about it. And I will go back to that video of the mom explaining what happened to the babe, and I'm like, God, I swear the way I relate, it's so personal.
You know, I've had people blame those that have died by suicide. They will say that they were selfish, they're not thinking about people who cared or who might have cared for them. And then now you've said, you ask God to remove the thoughts of suicide from your head because you could not imagine the thought of your mom losing you. So is it like, is it insensitive to still say that people who commit suicide are sort of selfish? In a way.
I know it's not like, to be sincere, that's why I don't have an opinion. I'm 50-50 about it.
Because you also mentioned earlier, you said something about people not thinking through their emotions, like not breaking down their emotions. Because
you feel like
so you see, you had an opportunity to sit down and break down your emotions to the point that you feel like enyewe nikizajiua kuna vile ita affect someone.
Yeah, it won't sort them. Like I'll just disappear. I won't deal with them. Yeah. Then at times you feel like at times you've conquered big and small battles, and you're like, itaisha tu. Like itaisha tu, but I feel like I really wish kuna msee anaweza nishika mkono. During this period, I didn't tell my mom what I was going through because I knew it would break her.
Okay.
Like really, really break her. Considering 2017 was my bad year, my worst actually ever. But then now 2022 also has joined their trying, being my worst years in life. And still, my anchor, like God, because there's a time I couldn't even pray. I was just like, sikuelewi wewe sasa, sijui kwa na plan gani. But then I will still go to church. You know, I'll go to church and I'm not praying on time. People will pray and I will look at them wondering, wakiomba unawasikia juu mimi sioni kuna nisikia. But then I remember telling my friend, she told me, it's like you understand you can't do it on your own. And despite you not telling him directly, you are going to him for him to like to sort you, like to pick you from that mud, because you're either too weak to talk or maybe too disappointed to trust him. But your spirit, like your soul, you as a Christian, I understand that my strength comes from him. So I will still go. Then it got to a point whereby I finished therapy, like I was okay. Now I will process my emotion. Even when I'm mad, I'll say I'm mad because of A, B, C, and D. How am I feeling this way? What would I have done differently? I really wish I didn't answer back. I really wish I was quiet. But if I was quiet, this and this would have happened. But at the end of the day, I'm able to forgive myself because it was not worth it. or say, in as much as it wasn't okay, you needed to stand up for yourself, or you understand human beings are like this because they want favors, they want, like, you're not like them because of A, B, C, and D. Like, therapy really helped me to understand these things, to break these things, to embrace these sides, to say no, to say, this one I won't deal, regardless. Like, whatever, man. And at the same time, ask God for peace. Like, I was really asking God for peace. So it got up to a point whereby, I guess in January, he gave me peace, but it was very uncomfortable because I was not used to peace. I remember asking Moshina and Feni, I'm anakufa. Because what's happening, like, I'm peaceful, but I'm so used to being chaotic in my mind, in my life, to the extent that this peace is not making sense. Kila siku kwambia, niko sawa sana mpaka nashanga. What if nakufa? And
so what was Akina Muchina saying?
So utakuwa nakufanya niko like, unajua, of late, like, the way I'm not reacting to issues, the way I'm processing issues, then I started journaling. So journaling has really helped me to break down my days and my emotions. Like, I would say I was late in the morning, and say, Yvonne, you wasted time in bed instead of waking up and preparing. Like, I'll work on it tomorrow, but anyway, I don't like going to that place. Regardless of me doing A, B, C, and D, I was rude to this client. Why? Just because I'm battling my own things, they don't know me. They don't know what I'm going through. Yeah. So they don't deserve that reaction just because I'm going through what I'm going through. So what will I do tomorrow? I'll look for their phone number and apologize. As in, each and every way I'm breaking down things. There are those small things when a random person says, Okona smile supu, and you're like, this is a win. Considering there's nothing I'm giving in return as compared to, like, if my friend says it, I really appreciate and I really love my friends. Kuna mga tuna ile point yenye, pia wanafaa nikwambie, when msupu, ukona, like, naturally. But a stranger, kuna place tutatoana, like, this one said it because they meant it. Ama, when mrembo, ama unakaa vizuri. I started appreciating those small things. Kama soja kikwambia habari, have a good day. Ukishuka matatu, conductor kwambie, na leo ikubambe, kotu like, it's going to be a good day. Like, out of that experience, I started realizing, embracing, reacting to very different things in life. Things that I was just like,
So, and you mentioned going to therapy. At what point in your life did you, like, fika and then say, hey, I'm going to therapy?
So there's a day I was talking to a friend, a childhood friend. That period they were fasting, and she's also a therapist. I was not telling her because she was a therapist. I was telling her because she was my friend. There's like, Mary, A, B, C, and D. Akaniambia, Yvonne, uko sawa? Nikamwambia niko sawa. Akaniambia naweza kucall. Akanicall. So nikamwambia, akaniambia, I think you're depressed. Ebu try therapy. And I'm like, sio hivyo. Like, imagine issues are A, B, C, and D. Akaniambia, no. Just try therapy. So see, I went. There's that introduction. There's an introduction class. They have a name for it that I can't remember. So then I was given a therapist. And the first, like, 3 sessions were the hardest sessions ever.
Why?
I think that unpackaging, and I don't know, that's where they're professionals. There's a way they know what to ask. They know how to open those boxes that you think you've really forgotten about them, or they don't even matter, yet they are adding up to what you're going through. The first 3 days were they were a lot.
It felt
heavy and light at the same time. Heavy because you mean I've carried all these things, and a lot because thank you for making me open up. And okay, it's making me emotional. And
today I am your therapist. All of you.
And you know,
I'm just listening.
But okay, cool.
I'm just listening. I'm not judging.
And the fact that she would say, and even give me topics. She was such a graceful woman. And she would ask questions whereby
she's like an older woman.
Nope. Like just a mama.
A mama, like how old? I'm thinking if at some point in my life I ever feel like I need to go and see a therapist, it has to be someone way older, like
Let me say 40.
like my parents' age or even older than that.
Let me say 40ish. Like unajua hapa pia mse ana relate na shida za the current generation.
I think as a professional unafaa kuwa tu unajua, like as a professional.
I get, but ule mse mwenye ata understand why Gen Z and why millennials and our reaction to things. You know, Gen Zs are having it easier. You know, the way they are opinionated and all.
They know their rights.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
Because me, you would be slapped till you
Exactly.
can't
As compared to us,
Yeah.
I think we were so used to follow certain procedures to the latter, and they are not doing that. Plus,
That is
life
why-
is not all about that.
That is why I would expect Gen Zs to be the ones actually going to therapies more.
You know, Gen Z.
Because for us, we were used to that life of structure.
That's why, in as much as it was not working for you, you will go with it because tumezoea hivi. Like sipendi kuamka asubuhi, sipendi kuosha vyombo 4. What's the difference nikiosha 6? Gen Z anasema stosha 4. Niko napanga kuosha 6 na
But not Gen Z, I feel like all these things, the fact that they have the power to make these decisions and to do this and not to do that, at some point it will catch up with them. Juu unajua life nayo ni ile, life itself has structures.
Yeah, I know.
Like you can't do life the way you want to do it. So if you want to do it the way you want to do it, at some point it will catch up with you and it will be pay time.
But I mean, I like it the way they do it because they're able to express themselves. They're able to control what they want. As compared to us, we are so used to yes. Even when deep down you want to say no, as in it's peaceful that way. To waste time, tusijibizane. Ni sawa.
But when you think about it, the fact that it's also structural, it also brings a lot of trauma or certain things that you have to heal while you're growing up.
Exactly.
Because personally, there are things I had to unlearn because my parents taught me I'm supposed to behave in this manner. But when I started getting to know myself, to understand my values, to understand my beliefs, there are things I had to unlearn, and it was like the hardest thing because it's like you're
used
breaking something that it's so
part of you.
innate. It's so part of you, but you feel like this is wrong. So I
like for example, what did you have to unlearn?
Like I had to unlearn that I don't have to respect my elders if they don't respect me. My parents taught me like she's your big sister, so you have to agree with everything she says, but it's not true because I had to learn like I am a being, I have my own mind, there are
your own
I have
emotions.
my own emotions, my own values. So like I even started, I had to learn how to put boundaries. I had to learn how to put boundaries when I'm like old. Do you know how crazy that is? How hard that is? So I think to a certain extent Gen Zs are lucky because they can express how they feel. But I also agree with you, there has to be that form of structure because if there's no that form of structure,
be chaotic, true.
It's going to be chaotic, you get. So there has to be that balance.
It's 50-50.
Yvonne, is there anything that you've had to unlearn?
Yeah, but I can't say on camera. Gosh, yes, a lot.
You can just say like a few. To me personally, what I
There's
unlearned
nothing.
is that you don't have to marry at 25.
Yeah, right.
That's one of the that one has never been an issue to me.
No,
but it's one.
Like growing up, my dad used to constantly remind me, you know, at your age, you already had a wife and kids and jobs and nini. And at that time, I'm like 26 or 27.
What I came to learn and unlearn is the fact that we are evolving each and every day. So the Yvonne today might be a different Yvonne tomorrow. And it's okay to keep on changing what you said or what you believed in day in, day out. And I can be comfortable today and uncomfortable tomorrow, and you're supposed to be okay with it. Or issues like saying you hate your job doesn't mean you don't appreciate your job. And this one I can't say.
Saying you hate your job doesn't mean you do not appreciate your job.
Yes, you don't, like, as in, it's paying my bills, it's where I'm spending 8 to 5, but I hate it. It doesn't change the fact that this is what I feel towards this job. But that doesn't mean if you have to remind, unajua kuna watu huko nje hawana kazi, to be sincere, I know, and I really feel bad for them, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't like what I'm doing. And
so it doesn't mean that you are ungrateful.
yes, I'm not ungrateful, I just don't like it. And we have different dreams that can keep on changing. Today I might want to be a doctor, tomorrow. At the moment, I'm dead sure I want to practice advocacy. Mental health, different areas, especially a job that has a way of giving back to the society. Now I'm sure that's what I want to do. I don't know how, but...
You finally want to give back to society.
Yes, but while earning money.
yeah, of course. Like at least like you have to sustain.
Yes, while earning money. Yes, like in that way. And then
I'm telling you, you see.
And then Nini, work environment. My issue wasn't triggered by my job. Like there were just other issues, but the environment was sort of in a pepeta. Like it was triggering these things. I might come to work in the morning, very fine, just a small thing. You know, so much happened to the extent that I hated phone calls. Like
the anxiety.
And you can't even explain to people. And I think it's something that needs to be taught to.
Phone calls mostly is a job.
It got to a point whereby phone call to like in a new thing. Or my personality, my securities, my pride, my confidence shouldn't trigger your insecurities. Those things are so many in work environments, especially bosses.
You know me, when it comes to therapy, or mental health, I always feel like everyone has some psychological needs.
Yep.
You may like the need to feel like you belong. They need to feel like you're appreciated, you're loved. They need to feel like you actually have a future where that means something. So when these psychological needs don't feel like they are aligning, that's when now we start having mental health issues. Like I always feel like easy mental health, they don't just happen out of like a vacuum. There's something wrong going on in your life.
That triggers, yes. There's something that you've packed, then it takes one thing that it's like you unbox one thing, then you realize that box is down there, and to get to it, you need to unpackage these other boxes before you get to it. Then you realize there are so many things that you need to deal with that you've never dealt with that are affecting your life at the moment.
Okay, but I feel like most of these unpacking, are they really necessary? There's a time I was in another podcast and I was with this lady and she was saying, I think she's in her early 30s. She lost her mom like 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago. And she mourned her mom for 2 years straight while still fighting depression and all that from this loss. And I honestly could not relate. I could not relate how you can mourn someone for 2 years.
This is not funny, but
I know
I'm
he's so
laughing.
cool.
No, I'm just saying for 2 years. But my reason is you are a grown ass woman.
Wow.
You have children who are looking up to you. So when you are going through this episode of mourning your own mom and falling deep into depression, do you like Yvonne was saying earlier, something about thinking through your emotions and everything? Like, don't you stop and think that you have kids who are actually looking up to you while you're sinking deep into this depression?
Okay,
Like I wasn't relating at all. I couldn't relate.
Okay, so Lubanga, I believe you mentioned something before we started the show that sometimes kuna heartbreaks zenye zuma sana,
Yes.
alafu kuna zingine you don't really care about, and I feel like loss is the same. Sometimes you we feel loss differently, and why you might not relate to it, it's because maybe you've never experienced it, but at the end of the day, because you might be feeling something and you're stuck and you don't even know how to move forward.
Just number.
For example, like the boyfriend I said died. It took me 3 years at least to say like, no, I'm starting to heal.
3 years.
Yeah, because there was so much happening.
It was just a boyfriend, like not a husband.
Yes, it was the first loss. It was the
Okay.
first loss I ever.
I'm just surprised. Yvonne, please.
Really? Really?
Okay, let me tell you.
You know, like I'm thinking a husband and a father to your kids can hit different than just
Okay,
a
so
boyfriend. Like, that's
imagine-
just what I'm thinking.
Lubang, imagine you're 21.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time you're feeling all these feelings you've never felt before.
Okay.
And suddenly this person dies. You never get to say goodbye. You never even get to go to his burial because someone in your family said you cannot go. So like, and then there's something when you
Go for
something
a
that
burial.
something, yeah, like it's like a closure, right? And then something I learned through a counseling a counseling whatever I went through, like when you're mourning in private, it takes way longer because you feel like no one really understands what you're going through. You can't even talk about it because at 21, like how could I tell my dad that?
You lost a boyfriend.
Yeah, like
Even
how?
if I was your dad, I would be asking you,
Exactly.
why are you in a relationship at 21?
Exactly. And then the people who knew, they're like, okay, pole.
And that's it.
Uta,
They don't
that's
how,
it,
how
like-
intense it is.
Yeah, like pole. That for them, imesha enda like the wind. But for you, you're stuck there. Like imagine Lubanga, all these things. I've never lost anyone before. I don't even know how to deal with loss. I can't even talk to anyone about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, sometimes like I was so devastated that like I think I got stuck and it was hard. So like you can't really say that loss is very personal. Loss is very personal. You can't
So
really
people
say-
process it
Differently.
on how, based on the
Yeah.
intensity they were attached to these
Yeah,
people.
exactly. Like for me, I had a talk with the counselor 3 years later. It was just a random conversation, and I was ranting about how angry I was with that person in my family who didn't allow me to go bury him, because I feel like I used to, sometimes I would sit in the house and I'm thinking he's going to walk in any time, because I never really got the closure, and no one really told me how I can actually get that closure and move on, so I was traumatized.
Plus then I can imagine mental health and trauma therapy was not a thing like at the moment.
Exactly.
Whereby ilikuwa like susonge tu ni boyfriend utapata mwingine, like
Yeah, like the way Lubang is saying, like loss is loss. It's not loss.
Ni Charlie tu.
Si ni
Of course,
Charlie
of
too.
course,
No,
we
it's
siwezi sema ni
not.
Charlie tu, but nasema really 3 years.
Exactly.
3 years is a long time
No,
to be.
as in anything mental related, it's so personal because our perception, the way we interpret, the way we react, the way we process is very different.
Very.
Like even siblings, you can both lose your parents, but kuna wale wenye hawata react, like I'll be strong for the family. Wale wenye na ensure kuna maua, kuna nini, kuna casket, hivyo tumefanya planning. Unajua huyu yuko to like trying to be strong for people. Huyu mwingine amelia, amemuona, amefanya nini, like atakuwa dramatic hiyo siku ya kuenda, but with time anaanza kuembrace the fact that okay, mommy is normal. Then the strongest inaanza kumhit years later. Hii period yote alikuwa anatry kuwa strong, alikuwa anatry kuwa the bigger person, alikuwa anatry kuwa the planner, but they didn't really mourn the parents. Sasa ndo anaanza kumourn your time.
You people are making me feel like I'm cold.
You are.
Because I'm
Please
not.
don't say that.
Kama kuna mtu mwenye anakonga na high levels of empathy as a man, si ni mimi. In Nairobi, I'm the one who has
Oh my goodness, this is
who
the
holds the
funniest thing
record.
I've had today.
I'm very
So
empathetic.
these things zinakuanga it's the same thing. Like you see, nipeane example kama gani. Nigerians wangapi wameachwa na girlfriends na haikuwa big deal. Omale aliachwa na girlfriend, ametolea fire.
Depressing.
Because he's depressed. No, zile songs zenye, in as much as you don't relate to his problem, yake ilikuwa heartbreak, but anatoa song una relate to your own problem yenye si heartbreak. It can be a different kind of failure, but una relate to these songs because sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes like me for a very long time I've been okay, I've been at peace, but I'm dead sure I'm not happy. That period ngeniambia mambo depending on who you are, ningesema poa, alafu nikae nijifikirie like Yvonne, are you really poor? Ama nikwambie
But
to be sincere
unajua,
sijui.
the thing with me, and I always assume it's so with most men, I don't want to speak on behalf of ladies, that sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not happy, sindio? But you see, when I'm not happy, I know the reason why I'm not happy. Like, I know why I'm not happy, and so maybe it's beyond me to try and turn it around, or maybe sometimes it's my fault, and so I just learn to live with it. Like, najua mi siko poa, but siko poa because of ABCD. So ni either ni adjust to niishi na hiyo fact, ama I try and work and see if I can reverse it. So that's how me I've always navigated.
You see, the difference is wewe una process hiyo kitu. Umeidentify, umesema like I'm not happy, but reason ni hii. What can I do about it? Una try. Kama hawezi, like you even at peace by the fact that nilitry. Ikakuwa beyond me. So nitai-embrace tu niishi nayo. As
so
compared kuna
are you
mwingine
trying to tell me that there are people who are unhappy and they do not know why they are unhappy?
Yes. Like you can't pinpoint to say in your reason.
That's
like
weird.
why are you finding it weird? A lot of people are not self-aware at all. Like people are basically cruising through life without even understanding like who they are. Like I might even ask you like who are you, but you can't really give me a substantial answer that is not outward. You're giving me things that I can substantiate, but you're not really telling me who you truly are from within. You know, like there's the outward you, but there's the within you. Like who are you? Like who are you? Like really who are you?
I don't think anybody can comfortably say mimi ni so and so, like mimi am this.
But you should have an idea.
Because sisi wote tunakuanga a collection of so many things. Do you remember the idea ya nature? Like when you're growing up, the idea like ukiwa mdogo umezaliwa, like nini yako haina anything. Like you need a blueprint ama like there's nothing. And then now as you grow older, unaanza kupata ideals from this place, another idea from that place, so when you grow older, like when mkubwa uko na different nini within yourself. So like getting to know like useme mimi ni huyu, it's very difficult.
It's not.
Sometimes the things that you're living, the ideas that maybe propel how you live your life are maybe not yours. Like you pick those things from somewhere.
Exactly. That's why she's talking of self-awareness, because you see these are things you're picking. They are not in you.
So that's what I'm saying. Then the question of who are you really? Unacheki.
It's the same thing now.
It's really hard to answer that
kuna
question.
kitu inaweza kukasirisha na kitumia itanikasirisha. Kwa sababu like it's not in me. It's the same thing umesema following a celeb mwenye you're constantly hating. Itafika point nijiambie as in I'm being toxic to a stranger. Amevaje leo, amefanya nini leo. It's so simple. I'll just unfollow you for me to stop hating. But wewe kuna ule mtu mwenye atakuwa like
kila siku anaingoja.
Anangoja tu aanze kunini.
Ameweka picha shaanza kumwambia.
Aanze kumwambia umenona, umefanya nini. Imagine that's who you are. Ni venye hautaki kuembrace. Ushaisikia kama zile jokes za mtu akiambiwa.
So when hater tu
ukiambiwa heal. Ukiambiwa heal like ile heal. Ama on Twitter penye mtu anasema my dad did ABCD, alafu someone is saying wanaume wanafaa kuwe ABCD, like still coming back to nurture and nature. Wanaume wanafaa kuwe ABCD. Msema anakuambia like hey sorry because you didn't grow up in an environment of love. I grew up in love. This is who I am. So as in the environment might have affected who you are, but deep down you would wish to have that love. To have that comfort.
But see, at the base level, we are supposed to have a distinction between how men do things and how women do things.
Okay, before we go to how men do things and how women do things, circling back to like you saying that you can't really answer who you are. Like I was listening to a certain YouTuber, and he was talking about a certain experiment that they like certain persons walikuwa nafanya. So like kuna watu wenye walikuwa wameingia kwa room, so wakakaa, and then kulikuwa na bell inaringiwa, so walipata mtu, kuna wenye walikame in but kulikuwa na mtu, na huyo mtu mwenye alikuwa kwa hii room before, venye aliingia alipata every time bell ikiringiwa watu wanasimama, but yeye elewi kwa nini. So venye aliona watu the first time wanasimama, pia akasimama, so watu wote wakatolewa, mtu mmoja akabaki. So when the other people came in, so since mtu mmoja alikuwa amebaki, akiona watu wengine huyo akisimama, pia hao wengine wanaanza kusimama, but they don't really understand why they are doing it. So the concept of individualization, that is where the concept of individualization comes in. You've talked about being nurtured and nature. I'm not disputing that, because the things that I've learned through my parents, through my experiences, but at some time there has to come a point where
there's you, like, what do you believe in, what are your values, unajua? So you can, so that, and then you take responsibility for that. So let me ask you something, Lubanga. Just because, for example, you saw people killing, so you saw someone killing someone, okay, that's a very bad example.
Can you use that example?
Okay, yeah. So because you saw someone killing someone, and then now because it's something you nini, like you internalized, you know, there's a chance you might say like killing is okay because I saw someone killing, but through your experiences and everything that you've gone through, at some point, even when you want to kill someone, you have to be able to pause and say, or even ask
humanly,
yourself
this is wrong.
Simple question: why do I want to kill this person? Do I really think human life does not really matter, or does it really matter? And that is where the concept of individualization comes in. At some point, you have to be self-aware enough to know these are my beliefs and these are not my beliefs. Like, for example, the way my parents were telling me that I have to respect everyone who is older than me. At some point, because of everything I've gone through and also like my individualization, I came to the realization that my personal value is I'm going to respect someone who's going to respect me. I'm not going to give you respect if you won't respect me. You see? Because that is something I believe in, you know. So, like, I believe through self-awareness. Personally, I'm an advocate for self-awareness. Self-awareness is where everything starts. That's why you can even individualize who you are. And what kuuliza today, like, you without being a podcaster or a writer or anything else, who can you say you are? Because, okay, I know you don't really believe in God, to be discussed behind the tent.
I didn't say that.
Okay, you're what does he call himself? Kindly remind me.
There's a name. I'm still trying to remember.
I'll tell you. I'm agnostic.
Yes.
Yeah, like you don't believe in the concept of God because Ajaji proves. I think that is what it means.
I'm agnostic in the sense that Nico too, like I can't really say God doesn't exist, and at the same time I cannot really say he exists. So yeah. I cannot judge people who proclaim existence of God, and at the same time I cannot judge people who claim he doesn't exist. Even though nowadays people who claim God does not exist, I kind of judge them because for the simple fact that, you see, you're saying you're saying that God does not exist, but can you prove to me that God does not exist? The same way you would want a Christian to prove to you that God exists. In the same way, I would want you as an atheist to prove to me that God does not exist. And believe you me, no atheist can prove that. So that's why mimi ni Kalonzo kwa history yote.
Ni kama this book, I read Viola Davis' book. It's such a nice book, and Will's book. And I guess it's just something about growing up in black families. That's growing up, there are so many traumas to embrace. When she underwent therapy, hers took long. There's a point whereby her therapist told her to embrace the younger Viola. Like, sort of, while she's driving, the younger Viola should be next in the shotgun. In her shows and everything, like she has to constantly embrace this younger Viola, heal the parts that at that point seemed not to be healed, and to prove to her that for her to be who she is, to get to where she is, she needs to to sort all these things, because constantly they'll affect who she is as an adult. Like, you're so used to being told you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not nini. Back to her point, this issue of individualism. When you're asked to describe who you are, there was a show whereby mothers, CEOs, and all, they were told to describe who you are minus your possessions and your titles. Not a Mrs., not a Miss, not Mama Nani. Like, so who are you?
Nakumbuka nimewahi uliza maboys hivyo pia, because most men get their identity from what they have or what they do, rather than who they really are.
Yes.
But so, see, if we were to think about it along those lines, then I'll say maybe who I am are the values that I stand for, the principles that I have. So it's very easy then to tell who I really am. But then again, to dig deeper, hizi values na principles nilitoa wapi? There has to be an outside influence.
And I get, but kuna zile zako mwenyewe. The whole of this week, Twitter, there's a guy who's been sharing threads of gangs in Nairobi, Mombasa, Nyeri. There's been that guy. But I think he shares, once wasa wamesoma na delete na eka ingine. Each and every time, unapata kuna wale wenye walijisalimisha and all. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, despite your environment and all that, unapata wasa wame grow up ghetto, they're like, hii place sitaki kurudi. Like, as in hii si mtu amekwambia, ndio mwenyewe umejiambia, come rain, come shine, sitaki kurudi. Partly because your friends were killed in gangs, partly because nimechoka kuruka sewage, hakuna maji, hakuna nini, hakuna, like, in as much as this is the environment I've grown up in, I want so much more for myself, and I need to work for me to get out of here to help my family. So hiyo ni lenye environment ita take part ku try ku shape venye utakuwa, but at the same time there is who you are and what you want.
So like the environment pushes you to think now for yourself about the things that zinaweza zikaku. So ni kama maybe two ladies, ndio, all of them wanataka soft life. So one decides to either go to school and then atafute job ama afungue biashara, a sustain soft life. Mwingine anaamua wa baba. So like tukitumia wawili ka example tutasema yes, environment imewaweka in a position that they need to look for this soft life.
Yes.
So how they processed it nilikuwa tofauti.
Differently,
Huyu kama kwenda this route, huyu mwingine akachukua hii route nyingine. So based on easy nini inaitwaje, the decisions that they have decided to pick, now that's who they really are. Like in your individualization, like self-awareness. Is that now who they are?
So you see, this is us judging from outside, from the choices they've made. But our wenyewe, we don't know what they want. Because unaweza pata huyu mwingine ana regret choice yake, considering ako like, business yangu, it has failed way too many times. I really wish ninge choose this side ingine. Ama huyu mwingine, outside she's comfortable in that life, but deep down ako tu like, this is not what I want, but siezi wacha juu ya nini.
Kwa in a nutshell, bado nasema our choices do not really determine who we are again. Zile choice tuna make.
That's a hard one.
Juu kama unaweza jipata kwa hii position and you're still feeling like I wish I had maybe picked the other option. So inamaanisha hii choices maybe ziko driven by maybe selfish interest that
issue inafaa ikuwe ni once you realize this other choice, what are you willing to do as a person?
Okay.
Yes. So I think from that one it can determine who you are, but hii ingine still I think iko under influence, right?
Yeah, but I personally think if kama we're talking about the concept of individualization, it means that every choice you're making, you're intentionally making that choice, knowing I'm doing this and this is going to happen, and you need to be
ready for the repercussions.
For the repercussions. Because I think for me, with the self-awareness, like the journey I've taken and I'm consistently taking, there are choices I make nowadays, and I won't pretend that this is not going to happen. So when it happens, I'm not shocked, or I won't pretend that I wasn't expecting this to happen. It means that I was ready and I'm willing to embrace what is going to happen. Part of being self-aware, or part of trying to individualize yourself, it comes with responsibility. you don't just do things for the sake of doing them. You do them from a conscious level, and from that perspective of whatever happens, I'm willing to face the consequences. You're not gonna hide anymore, because there's that aspect of, like, there's a time, I think, even for you guys, there are things you've done and then you're like, you didn't even think about the repercussions, or you might have thought about it but you're not willing to take responsibility. But I feel like when you start individualizing yourself, when you start trusting your values, your beliefs, there are things you're going to do, and you know you're doing them, knowing that this is what is going to happen, and you're willing to walk through that journey.
Okay, that's because this week I was mad because of something, and naturally I'm not violent, but for once I really wished I could fight. I was like, I really wish I had my sister's violence in me.
She's a violent lady.
No, she's not, but how she reacts. You know me, it's ni rahisi sana uniingililie na unifinyilie. Because mostly I'll complain, I'll rant, I'll cry. Then I'll pray, I'll journal, then itaisha. My sister, she know memzoea hivyo. Yeah, this week I was so mad and I was just like, it's just that it's not in me, but I really wished I could just slap this one. For once, aniheshimu.
Ilikuwa kwa ofisi ama wapi?
Oh my God.
But slap colleague.
No, nimslapie nje. There's at times this thing of individualism and all that. At times the repercussions might not be what you intended. Like, you can be a good person and the life is constantly fucking you up. And
then you can be an asshole.
And then life is kind to you.
Yeah, it's kind to you. Life is giving. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so before you continue, in regards to that, it's okay to be a good person. Whether you should never feel bad about being a good person, but like, being a good person doesn't really mean you don't get to protect yourself. And how do you get to do that? By having boundaries. You get like for example, you don't have to go violent on that person, but there are other ways to stand up for yourself.
That one was different. That one was different. I was just like, because me, when I'm mad, I'll rant.
Yeah.
I'll keep on ranting. But when I'm extremely mad, I'll cry.
Oh, wow.
Yes. When I'm extremely mad, I'll cry. There's a day I had a mental breakdown while at the gym. I didn't know I started crying while at the gym. So I remember this guy came. You see, when your eyes are teary, like, images are blurred.
Yeah.
So he came, and then plus I have astigmatism, so still I don't see well. So he came and said, "Hey, dada, chuma ndio inafanya unalia hivyo." And I was like, "Oh shit, kumbe nalia." Then
you didn't even know you were crying.
Unajua ukisema hivyo ina sound weird.
Kwa nini?
Hey,
bye. So I was like, okay. But you see, there's something else with the gym. Like, even when you're stressed, when you go harder, it's like it deals with the emotions. So I thought that day I'll do the same thing. Nikajaribu ikakataa. Walking home, my emotions were here. Nilikuwa nalia kwa matanga ya Mluya. Nilikuwa nalia na pain. But the moon was so beautiful that day. Like, really, 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 really beautiful. So my emotions were sort of 50-50. Like, this one God has allowed my life to be this shakalabagara. Then the moon to be this beautiful. So I was looking at the moon and I'm like, I'm say, look at the difference. Me and this moon. Yani, like, I was really crying. It was bad. Like, it was really bad. Like, walking like 4 steps, pause, cry. Then walking, at least ilikuwa kwa giza. But kuna mtu alinipata akaniuliza nini mbaya, nikamwambia tu I've had a bad day. Then guess what he said? Like, siku imeisha. Tomorrow is a new day.
Tomorrow is a new day.
Yeah, which was true. Sasa I started crying because of that. Because why am I not seeing life the way this guy is seeing life? Because definitely I'm doing better than him. Wale watu wametoka kibarua. maybe that hana food. Mimi naenda
Watu
kwa
wengi-
nyumba, kuna stima, kuna wifi, kuna hot shower.
Wajua
ako tu sawa.
my theory is most people wenye wako kwa hiyo level hawananga any mental health issue because they are too busy.
No, they
they're
are
too
grateful
busy.
for the small things.
Yeah, they are grateful and also
Alafu every
probably
day is
they
a
are busy.
blessing to try harder.
Yeah. But sasa unajua ukishapata most people who are comfortable in life wanafikanga ile point yenye it's ni comfort zone, so they have a lot of time to actually realize kumbe niko depressed.
No, it's cause you want more. Really? Yeah, you want more.
But si hata ule mse wa kibarua anataka more. That's why anaamka kila siku asubuhi try to change life yake. But mtu mwingine probably yeye ashafika. Like unajua kwa ile level yenye unafikanga, like someone was trying to explain to me, you can be like ule mtu mwenye yako, let's say ako na 1 billion na mtu mwenye ako na half a billion, they're basically the same, wako on the same level. Juu hakuna kitu mtu wa 1 billion na ile lifestyle enye ako nayo enye mwingine haezi fanya, like they basically, so hao watu they are thinking about like wamefikiria level enye their mind they don't have to worry about survival, so because they can't worry about survival they start thinking about how they are emotionally, like why am I sad, why am I feeling like this. Ule mtu mwenye ameenda mjengo hana, believe you me, hana time ya kufikiria why they are sad or if they could be sad. Juu he's thinking about kesho itakuwa aje. Huyu mtu hapa juu kila kitu iko sorted, so it's about I think they pay more attention to their mental states.
Okay, can I ask a question? Umeongea mjengo, but now in my mind I'm thinking about wale maboys wa mtaa wenye maybe they're there but they don't have a job, they definitely get depressed.
Yeah.
I don't think Miss naonanga hapa hivi nje, as long as
No,
they have
that's
bag.
why living a lie and putting up a face is very easy. But anyone undergoing, unless amefikia ile level ya hopelessness, who keep face ni rahisi sana, like rahisi sana.
So I would argue that maybe the reason why most of them are not going to the therapy, but then again tutasema therapy is expensive.
But
have you thought maybe they might not be going to therapy but they're depressed because it's coming through their coping mechanisms? Have you ever thought about that? Like for example, if you're being honest, the rate of the guys, especially the young ones who are taking a lot of alcohol or when wanatumia mihadarati in the, like for example in the slum setup ama tu place enye unajua do high flow vipoa, there are so many compared to maybe, I'm not saying like the rich, but also the rich they use, but there's a certain aspect, like I personally think they might be experiencing depression but they don't know this is what I'm going through, so it's coming out through their coping mechanisms.
My theory would be they don't have anything to keep them busy. That's why any vice inakwanga prevalent sana kwa low income areas.
But
any vice, it doesn't mean that now that they're using it as a cope. I don't think they're using it as
but
a cope.
if you don't have something occupying you, like you have your thoughts occupying you.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts telling you? And then what are your thoughts, these thoughts you're having, where are they going to lead you? Because at the end of the day, I also think they're depressed. And I think they don't know they're depressed. And even if they know they're depressed, they don't even know how to
go about it.
It could be, and I'm thankful that you run an organization that actually in a deal na mambo na mental health. So maybe you can be doing an outreach to such kind of population. But anyway, as we wind up, you mentioned that you've been to therapy, and you run, you're involved in the mental health advocacy. So in your opinions, do you think like mental health and therapy is something that everybody should embrace?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And even when you don't have these problems, you can just go. There are those boxes that you think like I'm fine. So that's what I'm saying. We are so used to problems, changamoto, to the extent that
changamoto.
Even when you're going through it, you're just like, but I'll just tackle it the way I tackled the other one. Sorry. I'll just deal with it the way I dealt with the other one. Not knowing at times is going back to the issue of processing, whereby there are some that you need to break down to very small issues and address each issue individually for them not to sort of pile up. in your emotions. Like there's a way they get stored somewhere, and they might come now or later.
So when you say people should just go to therapy, hata kama una feel out issue. So what's the difference between now me, I've never been to a therapist, so maybe you can tell me the difference between me talking to you as Yvonne about my issues and me speaking to an actual therapist. What's the difference?
First of all, an actual therapist is a professional.
Yes.
So I think they've learned how to help address these issues. Me, as an individual, I'll advise you on ways I think I would have addressed them.
Yes.
Like as a person.
Yes.
Like kama ni dem takwambia si wachana naye mbona kustress.
You will actually tell me kitu kama hiyo.
Mimi niambia kazi yangu acha dem.
Eh.
No, as in, ni ile, like as a human being, nitakwambia venye mimi naona, udem anakustress, udem anakukula do, udem anafanya ABCD, so wachana naye. Like what you want is your own peace. You want your own sanity. Wachana naye. Mimi sifikiri impact uko nayo kwa hii relationship. Sifikiri how deep it is. Sifikiri what it means to you. Mimi nafikiria venye umeshare problem na mimi. Like I care for you, so I won't care about that other person. Sitajali mko na nini mtu mwingine, nitakuwa tu like imagine achana yeye. Heartbreak itakuwa siku kidogo itakuwa tu sawa. Like I won't look how deep it is. Nitakuwa address venye naona. Hauna do nitakupatia 200 ya let's say leo sapa. Sifikiri kesho utasurvive aje. Sifikiri kesho utasurvive aje. Mdo sio kwa kustress stafute job ingine. Sifikiri jobs hazipatikani sai.
So therapist atanisaidia aje kama mimi job yangu ina ni stress? Kuna
siku nyingine niliambiwa it gets to a point where even it has gotten to a point whereby it's like a failed marriage. However much everyone will tell you vumilia, however much everyone will tell you angalia kuna watoto, however much when it gets to a point whereby you'll say enough is enough, nobody will tell you it's time to move. You'll just move, and then you'll find what you're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, so as in interpretation yao.
So ni kama therapist yeye ni kunisaidia nifike hiyo point and then I make this decision.
Na pia ku dissect these issues. Mimi ndio tukujeza juu. Umetry umenini ni sawa Friday na kusort. Leo Friday tukunywe to discuss his story. Tufanye nini na nini. Like I'll want to be there for you. I'll want to understand. Like I will want the best for you, but sitaifanya venye ataifanya.
Like how to deal na the
deeper issue. Yes. Nitakuwa tu like dem wachana naye. Jobs tafuta ingine. Like ni zile issues. Ni kama nataka solution ya sai. But itakuwa umefika ile point yenyewe because next time round ukitafuta job, ukitafuta job ile yenyewe nimetoka hiyo please thank God. But will the environment because itafika ile point yenyewe unaanza kutafuta job kwa like do they have medical insurance kama hawana mistake. How's the working hours, can I work from home, nini leave iko aje, payments iko aje, promotions zinakuja after how long. Like it gets to a point whereby natoka from ile point ya just being there to wanting so much for me because I now understand who I am, what I deserve and what I'm bringing. So inafika ile point yenye hata ikitu issue ya kawaida ya dem. Itafika ile point yenye wa last alinionyesha shege. Next time round nikitafuta I wouldn't want A, B, C and D.
Maybe mwenye yako an exhibit certain characteristics and okay.
Then you can see them from afar. Niweza ambia msee huyu ni mtoxic. Hata mimi mwenyewe naweza kanjiambie hivyo ni tabia ni wrong. Like si vitu nilikuwa nikiona kitambo for real. Naona these days naweza kwambia hata mseme nani anakuanga hivi I will react and nikumbuke like this is wrong. Afu nikwambie like imagine we know. Like it doesn't make sense constantly complaining about this nani and we have to constantly talk about this nani.
Okay.
So if it's easier like eka hizo boundaries na let them know why you're doing this. Takumbuka last time when you're doing trauma healing ya watu hii you realize these were kids coming from posh environments, like really posh, until they start debriefing and you're like Like, as in, you're too
Mimi,
nice, you're too beautiful to undergo through these things and all that.
After you've surprised me that when you're going for therapy, you used to see kids going to therapy.
Yeah, even in school uniform.
I think as a parent, if I ever get to a point where my children have to seek therapy, I would have failed as a parent. I'm just saying, like, because I don't understand. I don't understand how raising my children the way I was raised by my own parents will cause them to go and see a therapist.
Oh my
Like,
goodness.
I'm sure even if today my dad alisikia ati maybe nimeenda therapy, maybe nikiwa like under him as a student or as a pupil under him completely, alafu asikie ati nilienda therapy, ati kwa nini, ati niko tu na ma issues tu sijui nyumbani, he'll be very like anaweza kaa jiulize maswali mob sana like nini
imagine as a parent. I mean, my mom didn't know. Hata saizi ndani kama anajua na hintingi pole kama I can call to complain. You see the way you rant to your parents. Lakini last day nikimbiza niambie von najua. So sijamuuliza anajua nini. Like ataniambia anajua but
maybe aliambiwa your sister snitched.
So sijamuuliza anajua nini. Like that's hata nakumbuka juzi I was ranting about something and she said if anything happens to you Yvonne utakuwa umenimaliza. Like even alisema if anything happens to any of you mjue mtakuwa umenimaliza. Afrika unajua last year nikimbiza akaniambia najua. So najua sikumuuliza anajua nini. Nilikuwa tu like
probably she knows. Wanasemanga moms do know what's going on in their children's lives.
When I'm mad, she tends to call. Like when I'm really mad, ile atani call your moment.
Wanasemanga moms do know.
But have you ever you guys wondered why there are people who are walking around but they're not okay? Could you know, like some of us we are carrying childhood traumas.
That one I remember kuna siku natembea tao nikijiongelesha sikuwa jionge. To be sincere, I've gone through a lot. Bega mwingine akasema okay, that one hurt me. Bega akasema hata watu wa maofisi wajiongelesha hii Kenya ndio wazimu ni wengi. I felt
but I've always I think talking to yourself is therapeutic. I do have I don't talk to myself. I just have conversations like
I talk to myself. I create scenarios. Mini producer.
Hata mimi like that mind of a writer. Hizo conversations do flow because especially when I'm showering, like nikishower. Conversation uko lit sana.
Hata anaweza kuwa nikisoma alafu nione kitu ni relatable. Then I'll start conversing, creating scenarios. But hiyo siku sijui niliongea for how long na kutoka wapi. So huyu mama kuniambia tukiwa hapo Nation Center, the way alisema hata watu wa ofisi wanajiongelesha hii Kenya ndio wazimu ni wengi.
Na unakumbuka ulikuwa unajiongelesha nini?
But hiyo period I was undergoing a lot, so definitely nilikuwa nikiranchu kitu ama nilikuwa na complain kitu.
Okay.
Wow.
So ilikuwa like as we wind up, if you think therapy is essential for everyone?
I happen to have a different opinion, kiasi. Before you reach therapy, what are you doing ndio usifike therapy? You know, like a lot of people they consider going for like the therapy aspect of it, and also when you listen to maybe the media or even people talking about, they talk about the mental illnesses and depression and stuff, but what are we doing in between hapa hivi ndo kuavoid hizi vitu unaona? So the concept of mental wellness, it actually enables someone asifike afeel ako depressed or even go to a therapy. But at the same time, as Yvonne has said, sometimes going to a therapy doesn't really mean you're mentally ill or you're even depressed. It means that maybe you feel a certain type of way and you just might need a bit of, direction or focus, So for me, I feel like therapy is important, but before to fike therapy, what are we doing in between here? Okay. And this is where mental wellness comes in. Mental wellness is basically coping with everyday stresses, and you can decide to cope with everyday stresses either negatively or positively. Positively means putting in more work, like how am I feeling today as Lubanga? Am I okay? Am I doing okay? If, for example, you had a stressful day, how do you handle that stressful day? Do you have an internal dialogue and ask yourself the way Yvonne was saying, like, I did this and this, was I right, was I wrong? And also, like, having a way of, for example, if you feel like ulikosea msee venye alisema you can call, or for example you tell yourself, because kuna self-soothing actually, like I did this because it really made sense to me at that moment in time. But many people don't really do this, and that is where the problem is, because you end up piling and piling and piling. You end up piling and piling until now you can't even cope anymore. So there's the concept of coping with everyday stresses, and then another aspect of mental wellness is the flourishing aspect of it, where you possibly have positive, reinforced methods of coping with everyday stresses. For example, I would use Yvonne the way she said, how she journals. Personally, I journal sometimes, and if I don't feel like journaling, I feel like everything doesn't really make sense, I would either read, I would dance, or I would sleep, or I would even just call a friend and talk to her. For me, these things really make sense. They make me feel like, or I would even have personal dialogues, like, those ask myself those hard questions. Those are my ways of coping with things that I'm going through. And when I can't really cope with it, that's when I'm gonna look for someone to help me to walk me through that, because that is how I know how to cope with these things, you get.
Okay.
So like I know how I can actually get to boost myself when things are not really working out. So at the end of the day, it enables me to deal with stress. It enables me to even be present for the people in my life when they might be going through something, you see. And another thing that Yvonne said that I resonate with, what your therapy told you is, you cannot fill someone's cup if kama yours is not filled. And another thing about us humans, sometimes we give so much that we don't even know when we're not supposed to give. Because I remember the other day, like I felt like I have to be there for a friend of mine who sometimes has, like depressive thoughts and everything. But at that moment, I was going through a lot myself. So I was like, okay, so how can I take care of him? And I'm not okay. I need to take care of myself so that I can take care of him. Sometimes with mental wellness, it's more about self-care. It's coming deep inside of you and asking yourself this question and establishing if you're okay. So this is going to facilitate you always being present, always being mindful of your thoughts and also what you're bringing on the table and how it's affecting other people. And then if you're aware of these things, it could really prevent you from getting depressed. Or even seeking therapy. But seeking therapy is not bad, because it gives you a sense of direction. But before we go to the therapy aspect of it, or even we start talking about mental illnesses, what are we doing in between here? Yeah. It's very important. How can I help you live a very, like what your life you want it to be, because it's subjective to everyone, without you starting to feel like you're not okay.
I actually get what you're saying, because I think we live at a time when people are so caught up with
so many things, forgetting who they are.
Exactly.
So they're not like paying attention to who they really are
and what they are going through.
Yes.
Exactly.
So before people get to the point of going to a therapist, they should start being intentional about
taking care of themselves and mental.
So I think that's very important. It's very important.
There's a time I called my friend. Kanaambia si leo. Mama si leo. Like si leo.
Ulikuwa umemzoesha daily.
No, as in, when you just call randomly to rant. Si leo. Like as in alikuwa ile point yenye pia yeye hana kitu kuniambia. So that's what I'm saying. At times even when people are going through it, naambianga mtu, at times I don't want to talk. If you just want to call me and we breathe, ni sawa. Like let us breathe.
Tupumue tu.
Feel kama kuna msesa ingine. Si lazima uongee. Plus I'm very emotional. So okay, nataka kunicall tulie. Wewe ni call. Kulia. Tutalia tu. Yeah, so venye umesema hiyo ya empty. Kwa hiyo niambia si leo. Unajua venazanga imagine si leo.
Yeah, self-care sometimes it also means being selfish with
Yeah,
yourself.
true. After that Will's book, another book. This year I've read so many black books. As much as time he had gone for holiday after undergoing therapy, na akaambiwa times in as much as you're a celeb and all that, you need to be selfish. And it gave me a very different perspective of things out here. So umefika hivyo, people are forgetting, despite you being a celeb, you're a human being. So he didn't want to take a photo. Like completely, he didn't want to take a photo. This guy is saying, I'm such a fan, like my kid is such a fan. We've always watched from the days of Koso Koso and all that. But like I'm not here as a celeb. I'm here as a dad, as a human being. Na sijiski. But nasikia mwingine ana feel guilty because Will mwenyewe ako guilty because ni mtu huyo alikuwa anataka photos, sijapiga picha na mtu and all that. But anyway, you understand. Like I think we also need to extend grace to other people.
Before you extend grace to
You
any other people, you have to extend grace to yourself. It should start with you.
Okay, so tukimalizia, what are your final thoughts? Short, alafu tumalize.
My last thoughts ni your emotions matter. But and at the same time, extend grace to yourself. Feed your mind with positive things, words of affirmation. Then there are those small things that matter, like smiling to a stranger, saying good morning to that person sitting next to you in a matatu. Those small things. But the main thing is your emotions matter, like regardless. Good, bad, feel them, embrace them, process them. Yep, that's it.
Okay. Florence?
Okay, so for me, I would say that at the end of the day, when it comes to mental wellness, it's not about anyone. It's about you taking responsibility for your own emotions. And also, it's okay sometimes when you try to do something and it doesn't work. So like, give yourself grace and know that at the end of the day, it's going to work out. Yes. Yeah. And also, like, mental wellness is a journey. It's not something that you can just start and stop. It's continuously continuing, because as a human being, you're also growing. So yeah. And also, like, people, I would encourage whoever is watching to mind their mental wellness, because it affects everything in their life. They might not think it does. It's basically like the way you gym or the way you want to eat healthy. It's the same way. Mental wellness is the same thing. It's about also feeding your mind and yourself the things that you want to see, like outward, by minding yourself from within.
Okay. Anyway, so guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know what you think about the show in the comment section. Until next time, peace.